Come.
Right, good morning. It's the last pasuk of this parak, Bezrat Hashem. Pasuk goes as follows: V'shomeli yishkon betach, v'she'anan mipachad ra. But whoever listens to me shall dwell securely and shall be at ease without fear of evil. Perfect pasuk, by the way, for this time. Okay, whoever listens to me shall dwell securely, and he should be at ease without fear of evil. Okay, now we're discussing evil. We have a lot of evil around us now with the Mamdani. But after all warnings of the Pesukim from before, and after all the dangers that he was discussing of the temptations, and of arrogance, and of a spiritual sleep, Shlomo HaMelech here ends with a comfort. He says, there's another way. You don't have to live in fear. You don't have to fall to the pressure around you. You have to just understand that V'shomei li yishkon betach. If you listen to me, HaKadosh Baruch Hu, you shall dwell securely. And notice the wording here. It doesn't say whoever does everything perfectly. Right? It says whoever listens to me. Now, listening when it comes to Avodat Hashem means openness. We discussed this yesterday. It means, a heart that still hears the voice of HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Because we said the second you stop listening to HaKadosh Baruch Hu, that's when, you don't have to, I said this yesterday, you don't have to do evil to be evil. You just have to stop doing good. Because by definition, when you stop doing good, what happens? You slowly start drifting away. So he's saying here, the idea here is V'shomei li, listening is really everything. Listening means openness. It means a heart that still wants to hear HaKadosh Baruch Hu. And even if you stumble, even if you fall, even if you're far away, if your heart is still listening, HaKadosh Baruch Hu is saying you're still mine. Because listening means that you care, and it means that you're awake and aware, and it means that you haven't shut out HaKadosh Baruch Hu yet. And that's the foundation of all teshuvah, really. It's to stop ignoring HaKadosh Baruch Hu's whisper when he turns to you, and it starts to hear his voice when he calls out to you. And we all crave that. We all crave betach. We all crave this real security that the pasuk is talking about here, a sense of being safe, a sense of being helped, and a sense of being protected from people around us. But Shlomo HaMelech here is teaching us something really deep. He's saying that security doesn't really come from money or from status or from control. Those things can really vanish overnight, and we've seen that multiple times. We've seen that the number one time we saw that actually was throughout COVID. You had people who were on top of the world, and what happened? In a night, boom, they lost everything. And people who didn't have anything, in a night, they gained everything back. There's a story of this guy. He had a supermarket, and he, by mistake, he ordered a bunch of masks. He was selling, the, whatever it's called, the 3M mask, he ordered a bunch of masks. K95, that's what it was, yeah. And he had a bunch of masks and gloves, and he, by mistake, ordered this way before COVID. And he's like, shoot, he had everything in storage. He lost a ton of money, decided to become a bagger in a supermarket. This happened in Lakewood. He had no money, his store shut down. He had in his warehouse, he had a bunch of gloves and he had a bunch of K95 masks because he had a messed up order from years before that. He's working in a supermarket in Lakewood. He's a bagger, okay? Checking bags. He went from everything. That place is great, by the way. Shout out to Glap. He went from everything to zero. He's bagging groceries. You hear these two women talking about how, there's this disease coming, and it's scary, this, that, and there's a shortage of gloves. He's like, bro, I have a full warehouse of gloves. Okay, instantly, that week, he became a millionaire overnight. Wow. Why? Because, that's what HaKadosh Baruch Hu could either give us everything or take away everything.
Basically ruin the world.
Yeah. I'm telling you, the COVID was made from these factories, plastic factories, whatever. But like I said, security doesn't come from the status or money. It comes from it comes from true bitachon, and I said this today, true safety and comes from emunah. When you know that HaKadosh Baruch Hu is guiding you, even the storms around you feel calm. Because it doesn't matter what's going on around here, HaKadosh Baruch Hu is running the world. That's why the pasuk doesn't say, he will stand securely. He says he will dwell securely. Because when you trust in HaKadosh Baruch Hu, security isn't a moment, it's a home that you live in. You live in that home of security. You're dwelling in that home, like the pasuk says. And then continue the pasuk, v'sha'an mipachad ra. There's a kind of peace that only comes from this sense of connection. Not the type of a shallow comfort that those who say I'm fine, but deep down they really are not fine. V'sha'anan mipachad ra means he's calm and he's unshaken, because even when this evil seems to surround him, he knows that it has no power without HaKadosh Baruch Hu's control. And that's the peace of Yosef when he was in the pit, like we discussed yesterday. Of Daniel in the lion's den. of David HaMelech running away from Shaul, right? He was still singing to HaKadosh Baruch Hu. They didn't have comfort, they had emunah. We might not have comfort now of what's going on now, this morning, right? As Mr. Kraken was saying, we had swastika on Magen David. That's not comfort. But we still have emunah that even though we had that swastika, it's all going to be fine. And that comes from a sense of peace of having emunah in HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Now, Shlomo is revealing something deep of you. You're saying that peace isn't found in escaping hardship, like we discussed throughout the past couple Pesukim. It's found in listening to HaKadosh Baruch Hu within the hardship. When we tune our hearts to HaKadosh Baruch Hu's voice, through our tefillah, through our Torah, through our tehillim, through, just being honest with other people, something changes within inside of us. The fears that used to control us lose their power. The noise of the world that used to bother us around the world right now start quiet down. And suddenly, you can breathe again. You don't have anxiety anymore because you realize that it's all from Him. You're not running, you're not fighting, you're simply with HaKadosh Baruch Hu. And that's how the Pasuk says, V'sha'anan mipachad ra. We live in a world today that, that screams a lot. We have the phones, we have the messages, we have all these things, the notifications, all these things, Everyone is talking around us, but no one is listening. Very few are listening. But HaKadosh Baruch Hu's voice, it's not just quiet, it's still within us. A small whisper that HaKadosh Baruch Hu's, that speaks to us always. And that's Shomei Ali. To be Shomei Ali means to carve out those moments when you hear a voice from HaKadosh Baruch Hu. When something is wrong going on with your life, you understand that HaKadosh Baruch Hu is really running it. To close your eyes for a second, before tefillah and tell HaKadosh Baruch Hu, I'm here, right? Adonai sefateh tiftach ufi agiti latecha. Before you start your prayer, you're asking God to, please enable yourself to give that tefillah. Even before we say the tefillah, we're asking God for a tefillah, right? That's what it means to be, to be a Jew. To learn Torah not only with your mind but also with your heart. To ask in every challenge, what is HaKadosh Baruch Hu telling me right now to do? Those small acts of listening to HaKadosh Baruch Hu reconnect you to this eternity. And the chapter, we went through the parak, began with HaKadosh Baruch Hu's wisdom calling out in the streets, right? Like we said, but people ignored it. Now Shlomo ends with the opposite. He says, whoever listens to me will live securely. Why? Because the whole journey from like we've been through right now, from temptation to rejection, comes down to this one choice: will you listen or not? If you do, HaKadosh Baruch Hu promises you not just blessing, but also a sense of security and serenity and a peace of your heart, and being peace at heart. And when you listen, HaKadosh Baruch Hu protects us, even in ways that we don't see. He shields us from mistakes that we never knew we even made. He opens doors that we didn't even ask for it to be opened. We might not see it because we're not opening our eyes to it. And He calms the storms before we even notice the clouds forming in those storms around us. And that's the concept of Yishkon Betach. Yishkon Betach is a quiet life, of divine connection, even in that chaos. And to live this pasuk means to live in awareness. To walk through the noise of life and to still hear HaKadosh Baruch Hu's whisper saying, don't worry, I'm here with you no matter what. And that's what's happening now with us. I said this morning, we tend to just have emunah and bitachon when things are going well. When things are going well, like Baruch Hashem, everything is good. Why can't you say Baruch Hashem, everything is good even when things are bad? Because really HaKadosh Baruch Hu is the person controlling the world then. Right? So that's really, every time, you're living this pasuk, you're saying, HaKadosh Baruch Hu, don't worry, I'm with you. And every time you choose humility over ego, you're listening to this pasuk. Every time you choose, being patient over, and having gratitude and being honest, you're listening to HaKadosh Baruch Hu. And with each act of awareness, HaKadosh Baruch Hu builds this wall around us of this quiet protection around your life. And as the pasuk says, "V'shomei ali yishkon betach v'sha'anan mipachad ra," Hashem says, you don't need to be afraid. You just have to stay close to me. And to the world, will always have this pressure around us and this temptation. But when you choose to keep your heart tuned to HaKadosh Baruch Hu's voice, you'll walk through it with all peace. Because the true home of the neshama isn't comfort, like we said throughout this whole parak. It's a connection with HaKadosh Baruch Hu. And when you're connected to HaKadosh Baruch Hu, no matter what happens, you're already safe. So the Shem, we understand, no matter what's going on around us, HaKadosh Baruch Hu is always with us.
Amen. Amen.